Now we're going to move on to probability. So with probability, it has always been the case of when it comes to probability, it has always been the case of total good number of outcomes divided by the overall number of outcomes. So in the case of you rolling two dice, what's the probability of you getting a double? Well, you would then, in the past, I would ask you to draw a map of all the possible outcomes. So there are 36 possible outcomes. These are the good outcomes. So with probability, it has always been the case of good outcomes divided by the overall number of outcomes. So in this case, the probability is given by 1/6. Okay, so number of good outcomes divided by overall number of outcomes. So imagine you've got a graph like this, y equals 1 minus x squared. If you were to choose a point randomly within this area here, what's the probability that x will be greater than zero? X will be greater than a half. So imagine you've drawn this graph onto a piece of paper. If you were to get a dart and just randomly stab one point on the piece of paper within this area here, if you were to stab, let's say right here, what's the probability that what is the probability that x will be greater or equal to a half? Okay, so in this case, a probability here would be good outcome would be this area here. So it would be the integral from a half to 1 of this thing here, which is 1 minus x squared dx, and then divided by the overall area. So that would be the integral from minus 1 to 1 of this thing here. 1 minus, well, it has always been the case of good outcome divided by the overall outcome. Okay, so in this case, a probability of x being greater or equal to half is given by this. So this bit here is this area here. Is this area here, and the overall area here. Is given by this from negative 1 to 1. So to work out the probability of x being greater or equal to a half, it would be you evaluating this, and then working it out. It would give you 5/32. So hang on. So going back to here, if you were to draw this graph on a piece of paper and randomly get a dart and randomly stab it somewhere on the piece of paper, the probability of you stabbing it within this region here is given by 5 over whatever it was earlier. Okay.